The background that I have created for the poster was based on Mordor from Lord of the Rings. After finding a suitable copyright-free image, I copied this into Photoshop and scaled the image to fit the background. Ctrl-A, Ctrl-C, Ctrl-N, Ctrl-Shift-V and Ctrl-J copied the image into a new document complete with a duplicate layer. The copy is then desaturated and inverted. The original is moved to the layer above and its opacity reduced, in this case to 80%. A Gaussian blur of 5 pixels is added and Ctrl-F is used to repeat the blur to the inverted copy of the image. A new layer was added above. Using Shift F5, a black fill was added and the opacity reduced to 85% to darken the entire image. For the face, I wanted to create something dissonant. Dissonance in music being the difference between notes in a chord, so I selected images from either end of the musical spectrum. The face mask is a copyright-free image of a Slipknot mask from DeviantArt. This has been combined with a copyright-free image of Justin Bieber following his recent arrest. I placed the Slipknot mask over Bieber's face, and with a bit of playing with sizing I managed to get them both aligned. I then reduced the opacity of the Slipknot mask to 50% so only Bieber's eyes and teeth show through. Using the magnetic lasso tool, I was able to select the outline of the mask and move this into a new document. From this new document, I saved the image as a ping and copied this into the poster. The font used for the word dissonance is the Zombie Holocaust font from FontSpace. The font used for the rest of the text is the Ill Omen font from Picafont. These are both used with a clipping mask and an ivory background to give the aged off-white effect. The web page used the same principle to create the background. This time, a copyright-free image of clouds was put through the same process of duplication, desaturation and inversion with the Gaussian blur. Finally, a blue layer providing the colour wash was applied on top. A second image of a pair of eyes was used and the same process repeated, with the exception of the final colour wash. The eyes are used as a secondary background within the body text of the web page, creating the overall eye cloud background. These images were then copied into Illustrator to build the rest of the body of the web page. The idea behind my character started by combining a number of images. I tried my best to redraw these images and eventually ended up with a rough outline. To give my character some substance, I used the mesh tool. By starting with a rectangle around the chosen body part, I could add mesh points to create the contours and the outlines. Then, by selecting the mesh points and the colours using keys V and I to switch between the two, I could add the shading which built up the detail. Starting with the t-shirt, trousers and shoes, I was able to build each limb or body part a bit at a time to get the desired result. With the use of layers, I was able to isolate each part so any changes to one layer didn't affect the others. This was my attempt at a heads-up display. This was very much an empirical exercise which started by determining which information was needed and which was most necessary to the gamer. The idea was to give the gamer the most valuable information, ammo and strength in the scopes, and the additional information on the wearable wrist display. This would allow all the information to move with the gamer's movements and always be accessible. The forearm is a photo of my own arm copied into Photoshop, trimmed using the magnetic lasso tool and a film grain applied from the filter gallery to try and give the arm a bit of a dirty look. My futuristic building is an attempt to create a wireframe sketch to give an impression of what the building may look like, together with the cutaways to give a small sample of the details of the inside of the building. This really was an exercise in copy and paste. To try and retain symmetry, each arc was drawn in place using the grid as a guide and then copied, reflected and moved to mirror the original. The characters and vehicles are photos of my son's Warhammer models which have had a dry brush effect applied from the filter gallery.